All right, let's talk about one of pop culture's biggest what-ifs. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on the story of the mom who, some say, single-handedly canceled Lizzie McGuire. I mean, come on, we all remember Lizzie McGuire, right? The show, the movie, the music, it was everywhere. A true global phenomenon. And then, poof, right at the height of its fame, it just disappeared. So the big question we're digging into is, how does a franchise that massive just stop cold? Well, when you look at all the reports from back then, all the insider talk, the story of Lizzie's sudden end seems to circle back to one single person, Hilary Duff's mom and manager, Susan Duff. Okay, so to really get what happened here, we're going to break it all down. We'll start with Susan's reputation as, let's just say, the ultimate stage mom, and how she built Hilary into a Disney superstar. Then we'll get into the juicy part, the huge standoff with Disney that really changed everything. We'll even look at some of the rumored rivalries on set. And then we'll end with the big question, was she a protector or was she a saboteur? All right, let's rewind a bit. Way before those big Disney negotiations even started, Susan Duff was already making a name for herself in Hollywood. And let's just say she had a reputation. I mean, she moved Hilary and her sister all the way from Texas to California when Hilary was only 6 years old. She was absolutely determined to make one of them a star. And look, this isn't just some anonymous gossip from a random source. This is coming straight from Frankie Muniz, Malcolm in the Middle, a huge teen star back then who actually worked with Hilary. And he summed up his experience with her mom in one very telling word: intense. And here's a story that perfectly shows you what he meant by intense. So Frankie Muniz says he's just visiting the Lizzie McGuire set one day, right? Susan Duff pulls him into Hilary's dressing room and asks him what his summer plans are. He mentions he's doing this movie, Agent Cody Banks. Well, literally the next day, Hilary is announced as his co-star. He said he was totally blindsided. It's just a classic example of her, let's call it, proactive management style. But you have to admit that intense style, as controversial as it was, it worked. It really, really worked. Susan wasn't just landing Hilary a few roles here and there. No, she was building an entire brand. A brand that would eventually give them a ton of leverage. I mean, the proof is in the pudding, right? You've got the TV show running for 65 episodes, which is a huge deal. Then she's the lead in Disney movies like Cadet Kelly, and then, boom, the Lizzie McGuire movie is a massive box office hit. That movie was the launch pad into even bigger films. At this point, she wasn't just a TV star. Hilary Duff was a legitimate Hollywood powerhouse. So all of that success, all that power, it all leads to this one critical moment, the standoff. Hilary's fame is at an absolute peak, and Susan Duff walks into these huge negotiations with Disney. They're talking about a new Lizzie series, a movie sequel, the whole shebang. And this, right here, is where it all started to crumble. Okay, to really get the conflict, you've got to know the numbers. So for the original show, Hilary was making $15,000 an episode. Now, don't get me wrong, that's a lot of money, but for the face of a massive money-making Disney franchise, a lot of people were saying that was seriously below market value. And you can bet Susan Duff agreed with that. So for this new proposed primetime series, she walks in and puts a new number on the table, $100,000 an episode. Yeah, that's a huge jump, and it was a clear signal that they were not messing around. And this is really where you see the stalemate. Disney comes back with a counteroffer. They more than double what she was making, offering $35,000 an episode. But just look at the gap. They were still worlds apart. So Susan says no to Disney's offer, Disney says no to hers, and just like that, the new TV series was dead in the water. But wait, that wasn't the end of the line just yet. There was still the sequel to the Lizzie McGuire movie to talk about. The first one was a smash hit, so Disney came to the table with what seemed like a really generous offer for a part two, $4 million. So $4 million, why didn't the movie happen? Well, it all came down to one specific detail. See, on top of that $4 million, there is a potential bonus of $500,000, but it was tied to how well the movie did at the box office. Susan Duff demanded that the $500K be guaranteed up front, no matter how the movie performed. And for Disney, that was the tipping point. They said no. After the deal fell apart, Susan Duff didn't stay quiet. She went public with her side of things, and she framed it not like they lost, but like it was a total power move. This quote she gave became legendary. She was basically saying Disney was the one making the huge mistake, letting their golden goose just walk out the door. Disney, of course, had a very different story to tell. Their official statement was, very corporate, very professional. They basically said, hey, we really wanted this to work, but that the Duff's demands just hit a tipping point where it didn't make business sense anymore. And that was it. Negotiations were officially over. But, this whole money fight with Disney wasn't the only drama going on behind the scenes. Not by a long shot. There are also these persistent rumors about a pretty intense rivalry on the set of the show itself. And it was supposedly between Hilary and her co-star Lelaine, who played her on-screen best friend Miranda. So the story from crew members and insiders goes something like this. A really tricky dynamic started to develop on set. You had Hilary, who is always described as super busy, running between different projects, really focused on her career. And then you had Lelaine, who was seen as more friendly, more down-to-earth. And because she was just there more, she got really close with the cast and crew, and supposedly became a favorite on set. And the rumor is this created a lot of jealousy. Apparently, the real breaking point came when Lelaine's character got a storyline that showed off her singing voice. Now, the rumor that's been around for years is that this was a huge problem because it clashed with the big plan for Hilary to be the one to launch a music career. After that, their friendship was supposedly fractured for good. And the fallout was pretty major. Lelaine's contract was cut short, and of course, the big one, she wasn't in the Lizzie McGuire movie at all. Her character's absence was just kind of brushed off in one throwaway line. So you take all these pieces, the super aggressive management, the deals that completely fell apart, the friction on set, and you're left with this really complicated picture. Which brings us to the final question we have to ask. Was Susan Duff a protector, or was she a saboteur? And really, there are two totally different ways to look at everything she did. On one side, you've got the fierce protector. This is the mom who went to war for her daughter to get paid what she deserved. She stood up to a giant corporation and maybe, just maybe, kept Hilary from falling into all those awful traps that so many child stars get caught in. But then there's the other side. The short-sighted saboteur, the manager who made such wild demands that she killed a beloved franchise, costing her daughter millions, and pushed away colleagues and employers along the way. So that leaves us right back where we started, with that ultimate question. Was Susan Duff a protective mom just fighting for what her daughter deserved in the Shark Tank that is Hollywood? Or was she an over-the-top manager whose ambition got the best of her and brought a whole empire crashing down? It's something fans are still arguing about today. So, what's your take?